this is the authority of psychology. Now, just to go very quickly, when it comes to the state, we need to be clear on good governance, and once again, all this business, and I have been always this Ridwan, and many times having said الإسلام والديمقراطية هل من الممكن, all this discussion, we have to stop it now, because the Muslims around the world, not only, the problem was not, if, I like the statement done by one of the advisors of Erdogan in Turkey, saying, at the end of the day, with the recent history, the question is not if Muslims are ready for democracy, but if the West is ready for Muslims being Democrats. So that's one of the points. It's not a political meeting, it's just to think about the fact that we also have to be deeper in this. Muslims have nothing to do with the democratic principles. Now, the democratic principles, if we go very quickly, rule of law, equal citizenship, universal suffrage, accountability, separation of power, plus separation of authority. No one who is from the mainstream Islamic discourse now is saying that the ulama should take over and get the authority of the state. They understand, and this is not only something which is new, it's as old as Islam, that when the Prophet ﷺ was dealing with the political authority, he was challenged by the people. Is this your opinion or is this revealed? If it's revealed, I will keep quiet. If it's your opinion, I will challenge. This is the negotiated authority. أمرهم شورى بينهم. We don't have a problem with this. And when it comes to the revelation, خلاص, سمعنا وأطعنا. We're not going to pray. We're not going to challenge your authority in prayer, because it's not your authority. It's coming from God. So the way I pray is coming from Him. The way we strategize our resistance to the enemy is you. So I challenge your authority. So there are two authorities from the very beginning. So we don't have a problem with this. So the 6 principles here are principles that are important. Now, what is important, and this is what we said, and I said it before being banned from the United States of America for 6 years, was to say, please get it right. The principles we are talking about, we have shared principles. Now, don't go to any country to impose a model. The model is coming from the country. The model is coming from the people. The model has to do with memory, psychology, and culture. So the Tunisian model should come from Tunisian people and not be imposed by any foreign country. This is the point. So models are changeable, its principles are common. So I think that this is also something that we have to understand. When it comes to good governance, there are 3 things upstream that we have to insist. These principles are not enough if we are not acting, and this is where we heard the rulers now in Egypt and in Tunisia, and it was also the case. Remember Erdogan before coming into power, but also what happened in Indonesia and in Malaysia. Third thing which is important, there will be no good governance if there is no strong policy against corruption. No good governance without a strong take on corruption. And corruption means to get it from wherever it comes. It could be with the army, it could be with the leaders, it could be with institutions. Corruption is the undermining process of any democratic process. Second, transparency. Transparency means it's not enough to say you can vote and you are going to be elected if you have the majority. It's not only the structural dimension. It's information, it's transparency as to the rules, as to the way it works, and as the way information are provided. Transparency is important, and I think that we have to add this as something which is important. And the third is the state. The state should be inclusive. From wherever you come, if you are elected and you have a role in the state, you are not representing one organization, you are not representing your party, or you are not representing your own people. You become the president or the prime ministers of all. The good governance is the state is inclusive in anything. And we have to make it clear, because sometimes there are confusion in this, and we have to come to this. Very quickly, the second area when it comes to good governance is very much civil society. And civil society is a society of citizens. And what is a citizen? A citizen is a subject. It's not an assisted person. And we have to make it clear why. Because in the history of, for example, the very deep and active presence of some Islamist trends, very often they were serving the people in a way which was clearly doing what the state was not doing. The state is leading the poor, the state is not caring about you, so we care about you. And this was a natural process. This is expected from all the NGOs and all the people working in the civil society. Now when it comes to a civil society, we're talking about we should go from assisted people to empowered citizens, which is not the same. We don't deal with the civil society the same. Now it's empowered citizens, and citizens that have freedom. This is the first dimension. So this is why many of the scholars were saying الحرية قبل تطبيق الشريعة لأن تطبيق الشريعة تأتي من حرية المواطن. So this is something which is important. The reference to Sharia or the Islamic principles, or if we talk about principles, or we talk about the legal framework, or we talk about anything, even in the West, if we talk about human rights, how could you talk about human rights if you don't start with freedom of humans, human beings? You have to start with this. And I think that this is an important point when it comes to empowered citizens, and to be also able to integrate within the civil society the constructive criticism of the counterpower of the other people. And this is where we have ethics of power, but sometimes you have to remind the people who are against power that there is also something which is called ethics of counterpower. So are you here just to challenge the government, to just undermine the authority, or are you here to serve the society? Good governance is also the way we are dealing against the government and power. And sometimes in some of the discussions that I can see coming here in Tunisia, sometimes I'm dealing with people that I can accept, that they are against power, but in a constructive way, in a responsible way, to serve democracy and not to serve the perception of who we are and what we want. Your authority or your justification and legitimacy is not going by undermining the legitimacy of the others. It's going to come from your own social and political project. This is the point. And the point that we have now is people who are very strong on the mind, but don't talk about democracy. Just say you have the freedom to destroy. That's the point. You have and in a transitory period, we want constructive criticism and not destructive criticism. So this is where I think it's important. Ethics of counterpower, ethics of opposition is something that we have in a good governance also do. And this is why any government and any civil society should protect spaces of dialogue wherever. We have spaces of dialogue where people can be heard and being inclusive. What is a space of dialogue? We don't agree, but we are ready to listen. We are ready to listen and we are ready to share. And this is sometimes something that is missing. Last 2 points that I want to make is good governance, and especially in the globalized world, is to deal with the economic system. So we are facing now, look at this, Iraq, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, and now Syria with political and very bad situation. But the 4 countries that we went through Iraq 10 years ago, Libya, and then Tunisia and Egypt, we have a transitory period in political terms but with very fragile democratic processes and assisted economy. Assisted economy means anyone knows this. Anyone knows this. If you don't have a stabilized economy, talk about democracy the way we want, but democracy is undermined if the economy is not stabilized. So good governance has to do with how do we deal with economy? How do we deal with the multiple dimensions, the new partners, and in which way we deal with the multipolar world? And I think that too much was said about the Arab Spring in political terms. But the Arab fragility, the Arab scattered reality in economic terms is undermining any democratic process today if you're not serious about this. And if you want to ask why, for example, Turkey could be now perceived as a model of transition, it's not because of the political system only. It's not because Erdogan is going to Egypt saying, I don't have a problem with secularism. That's not the point. The point is that he's getting almost 10% of growth. This is the reality. He's stabilizing the economic system by the power of his acting against corruption and trying to get new partners in the whole process. So I think that we have to be very cautious not to come with a very simplistic, tell me that you are dealing with corruption in political terms and forget about the economic system. It's not going to work, and this is also something which is happening today. Very fragilized democratic processes and very much assisted economy. So free state and assisted economy doesn't match. Free state and assisted economy means that the state is not so free and it's very worrying what is happening. Last point that I wanted to make is about the cultural side of this discussion. And I think that if something should come from Tunisia and Egypt, it's very much to understand that the people, when it comes to good governance also has to do with well-being. And in the Islamic references, you know, when I was dealing with the scholars in Egypt and getting this knowledge, just to get that, I remember that the last thing that I got with one of my shaykh as to get the ijaza in usul al-fiqh was about the concept of maslahah and maslahat al-nas. And then you understand something in Islam that we are not talking enough about, which is well-being. Well-being. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. There is something in this world that you have to keep, and people should, in a democratic process, feel good with their own reference, feel good with what is happening. And it means that we have to reconcile Tunisia and Egypt and all the countries with something which is our cultures, the genius of the language, the genius of his imagination. This is part of good governance. A society which is only resisting to Western cultural colonization and not producing something which is, this is our culture, this is our being, this is our imagination, this is the way we deal. It's something which is missing in good governance. Maslahat al-nas and everything which is important here is why one of the highest level of understanding as to the Islamic objectives is al-deen wa maslahat al-nas, and everything which is coming from al-deen is for maslahat al-nas. So al-tayyibat, everything is good as you don't come to tell me it's wrong. But this has to be translated into cultural terms. Every society should do this and not accept it. That what is done in the name of freedom in the West should be the only norm that we have getting here. It has to come from within. This is the model. This is something which should come. Sometimes we don't say a thing. If we don't say a thing and we don't want this, so we are free, but we deal with, you know, something which has to do with respect, with decency, with understanding the very, it's just I'm free because I'm free, as all are free. No, I'm free because I understand. I'm the subject of my own culture. I challenge, I criticize, but I have to deal with this. So this is the dimension where the Muslims don't get. Why our young men, the great majority of our young Tunisian people, the people that I met, the problem is not the political system only, it's the cultural side of the equation. It's the way we deal with it, the way they feel good or they feel bad with the reference and the government that is dealing with, or the authority or power which is dealing with good governance should deal with this. And let me tell you the last one that I wanted to make about the narrative. The cultural side is the narrative. Us, what binds us together, why we are Tunisian, why we are Egyptian. That's very important. Don't let anyone use religion or use the secular principles to make it this is us and you are outside. Don't let populism take over in the democratic process. What is undermining the democracies in the West now, which is very dangerous, is some trends that are populists. They are describing us versus the other in bad governance, and they want to exclude people. And this is where we have to come with a narrative which is belonging to the common narrative, belonging to the Tunisian narrative by saying we don't agree on political terms, we don't agree on our interpretation of Islam, even with the Salafi, with the people who are very literate, we don't agree. But us, we are building the country. This is our country. This is where we keep being inclusive in anything which has to come with our understanding of our process. I heard here that many times it's a long process. It's not going to be easy. No one told you that to get rid of a dictator will be easy. It's sometimes easier to get rid of a dictator than to construct and to build a free society. Be patient is the first condition of good governance. Thank you.